Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for joining myself and our Director of Secondary Curriculum Instruction and English Learner Services, Monica Reddy. She will be our presenter today to give us information on the seal of biliteracy. My name is Viviana Loera. I'm the Coordinator of Parent Engagement for Napa Valley Unified, and we welcome you tonight. Before we go ahead and get started, we'd also like to go ahead and let our families know that we have interpretation services available. With that, I'll go ahead and allow Claudia to go ahead and explain that for us in Spanish. Thank you so much, Claudia.
Oh, thank you, Viviana. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Los servicios de interpretación en español van a estar disponibles de una manera simultánea. Para tener acceso al servicio en unos momentos que enciendan los servicios de interpretación, van a notar un símbolo de mundo o globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Favor de hacer un clic y se les va a proporcionar la opción de elegir el inglés y el español. Favor de elegir español y de inmediato ustedes pueden disfrutar de esta junta de una manera simultánea. Si ustedes están teniendo acceso a este taller por medio de su celular, ustedes van a notar 3 puntos, ya sea en la parte superior de su pantalla a mano derecha o en la parte inferior a mano derecha. Debajo de los 3 puntos van a notar una palabra que dice more o más. Si pueden hacer un clic en esa palabra y de nuevo se les va a lanzar el globo terráqueo o el símbolo de mundo, hacer otro clic y de nuevo pueden elegir el idioma en español y de esa manera pueden disfrutar la junta de una manera simultánea. Muchas gracias. Estamos a sus órdenes. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Good evening. As Viviana shared this evening, we are here to go over the seal of biliteracy, and this is really for all families in NVUSD. And so we look forward to sharing this recording out and this information out. My name is Monica Reddy. I am the Director of Secondary Education, and I work with the Director of Elementary Education, Matt Manning. We oversee pathways to the seal of biliteracy in our dual language immersion programs together. So I'm happy to have families join us. So the outcomes of tonight are really to help develop an understanding of the seal of biliteracy and the requirements. Last year during this time, I visited with families and students and staff around our A through G requirements and college and career readiness. And a greater understanding of the seal of biliteracy came through in that parent feedback. And so happy to be here tonight and look forward to doing this every year so that our families are clear on how students develop an understanding of the seal of biliteracy and the requirements. We also will share and hope that you learn how NVUSD supports students on the path to the seal of biliteracy, as well as the process in their senior year for obtaining the seal of biliteracy. And finally, I have a few insights on how parents and guardians can support their child on the path to the seal of biliteracy. So the seal of biliteracy and the development of bilingual and biliteracy really fits in our NVUSD strategic plan under student learning, achievement, and access in 2 key areas. College and career readiness, we know students who are bilingual and biliterate in 2 languages, the research shows that they develop language better in both, and they also have greater access to college and career opportunities, as well as even higher pay in those career opportunities that they have. And then our other goal is really around responsive, engaging pedagogy, ensuring that students are engaging in languages and cultures beyond their first language or their home language. So the California State Seal of Biliteracy, it actually is a recognition from the state. So it's a recognition from the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. It is given to our graduating high school students, and it is given when they demonstrate a level of proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing in 1 or more languages in addition to English. So the seal of biliteracy overall requirements, students must complete all English language arts requirements for graduation with a minimum of a GPA of 2.0. So that means 4 years of English with a C or higher. They must achieve at least the standard MET level on the English language arts portion of the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress in grade 11. And finally, they must demonstrate proficiency in at least 1 other language through examination or coursework. I'm going to go into those requirements in a little bit more depth. So the seal of biliteracy requirements for the standard met for CAS is that the test that they take in their senior year, and I know students take that in earlier grades, but the one that counts for the seal is the one that they take in grade 11. Additionally, their proficiency exams for language typically occur between their sophomore and senior year, depending on when they take those exams for their second language. I want to acknowledge tonight that when I say second language, I know for many of our students, their second language is English. And so tonight, the terms I'm using are terms used by our state of California so that we're clear and aligned with the state, but I want to honor that we call our students multilingual learners to honor both their languages, and we don't refer to languages as first and second languages, with English being the only language first. I just want to acknowledge that and let you know that I'm being very intentional and specific to the language that the state has to meet this requirement this evening, just so that there's clarity around the requirements. So the seal of biliteracy requirements for the second language proficiency, or the language other than English, is students have to meet the AP advanced placement exam. And so this is one option that students could use to demonstrate their proficiency. And on that exam, they have to pass an advanced placement with a score of a 3 or higher. There are 5 levels on that exam. So it could be the language exam or the literature exam. The other option that they have is the SAT-2. And I don't want to confuse that with the SAT that we give through our school sites. This is the SAT subject test. And so they have to take a test which is a language exam in the language that they're studying, and earn a score on that subject test at 600 or above. This is one way they can meet that second language requirement. The next, or the other way, is they could complete a 4-year high school course of study in the language with a 3.0 GPA or above. This could include coursework through the community college if approved by the school or the district, and that does happen for our students at New Tech High School, and I'll go into our pathways a little bit more shortly. And they have to demonstrate oral proficiency in the language, and that is determined by the assessment that is given through the school or the district. The seal of biliteracy requirements are a little bit different for our students who are considered early English learners. Again, I just want to acknowledge that you hear us in MVUSD refer to our students as multilingual learners. This is the same. So if their primary language is other than English and they have not yet reclassified, in order to earn the seal of biliteracy, they must meet those requirements for reclassification. So they have to have a score of a 4 or higher on the summative LPAC, which is the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California. They have to meet all the academic English proficiency that were listed above, and they have to demonstrate proficiency in 1 or more languages in addition to English. And so for students who are still considered in our system English learners, these would be requirements that are in addition. So NVUSD supports multiple language pathways depending on what school you're at. And so the pathways do start, I want to acknowledge, at American Canyon Middle School, you can begin your language journey with Spanish. And at Unidos Middle School, for our dual language immersion students, they begin their journey to earn their course credit towards high school in middle school. And so you don't see those on here, but those are options of early starts to the language completion for these pathways. For students entering high school, the pathways that are supported are American Sign Language at Vintage High School. And we added level 3 and level 4 so that students can meet that coursework for the seal of biliteracy. French is offered at Napa and Vintage High School. Mandarin is offered at American Canyon High School. And at all high schools, we support Spanish and Spanish for heritage speakers. So students can earn their seal of biliteracy through that coursework through any one of these particular pathways. If a student would like to, if they have fluency in another language, for example, I have had students when I was a high school principal that had fluency in Italian. There are exams that if they reach out to their counselor, we can have them assessed, or they could take that AP exam to show their level of proficiency. And even if they aren't engaged in that coursework at the high school, we could honor that and they could go through the Seal of Biliteracy application process. So the Seal of Biliteracy recognition process, how do students actually become qualified for this beyond meeting those requirements by the state? So we do have a verification process. They fill out an application in November through February of their senior year. This helps us identify who those students are. We do also run a report to verify and make sure we don't miss any students who may not have filled out the application. The application really helps us though in that process. And then once the student has been verified that they have earned the Seal of Biliteracy, they receive the seal on their diploma. Now, some students may receive this after we have to order their senior year. We do retroactively give those to our students who meet it later on. Maybe they passed an AP exam in the last, in the May session of their senior year. So there is an option if students have not yet met it and they're a senior, we do have an option to support them as they finish out their year. It may just not show up on the day of graduation on their diploma, but we will make sure that they get their seal. So as a parent, how can you support your student? First, reading, writing, listening, and speaking in both languages, English and the second language, or their home language in English, is important. It doesn't happen when they start in high school. It is happening all through their educational career. And so valuing, encouraging, and supporting your child with the development of reading, writing, listening, and speaking in both languages throughout their educational career is important. And that could be even just making sure that you're looking at their report cards and seeing how they're doing and having conversations with them. It could mean making sure that they're reading every day. It could mean, and I know that that can be a challenge. I have my own 2 children that I work with. It could mean helping them engage in extra support or activities at their school and being aware of what those are, or maybe reaching out to the school if you see that their report card or their grades or their STAR assessments don't show that they're doing well in those areas, reaching out to the school for some additional support. But the journey really starts in TK kindergarten and goes all the way through high school. Looking for information from your school site about tests and ensure your child signs up for the test. Not all students have to take the advanced placement assessment, and not all students have to take the SAT too. So making sure that you're aware of when those testing timelines are, when they're being sent out from your site, and that they're signing up. Money is not a barrier. So if your child cannot afford to pay for those assessments, we will make sure that that your child has an opportunity to take those assessments free of charge. And then reminding your student during the state testing window, especially their junior year, of why it's important to do their best. So oftentimes where I've seen students not meet the Seal of Biliteracy is not in their second language. It's oftentimes in their first, because they don't realize that they need both. And so if that first language is English, making sure that they pay attention to that CASP assessment and that they're paying attention their junior year and really taking it seriously, because the tests don't count for a student for anything else other than the Seal of Biliteracy. It can be challenging sometimes for students to figure out why do I need to take this seriously and do well, but it does count for the Seal of Biliteracy. And then supporting your child by engaging in test support activities at their school site. So oftentimes we have support from our advanced placement teachers. They do Saturday sessions, they do after school sessions, there's extra practice they can do. Making sure that they're getting support. We have LPAC support for our students who haven't passed their LPAC. And so making sure you're aware of when those are happening and how your students can get involved in those, or your child can get involved in those. So really just staying connected to your school, knowing the dates and timelines, and encouraging that ongoing development of literacy, I say would be the 3 ways as a parent or guardian you could support your child on the pathway to the Seal of Biliteracy.
And Monica, if I may, thank you very much. I was going to let you know that we do have a question from Mr. Bedoya.
Perfect.
Mr. Bedoya, would you be able to unmute yourself and let us know your question?
Yes, I was just wondering if we can get copies of these slides. I was trying to take notes, but there was so much information. It'd be really helpful to get copies.
Yes, so we'll share out the slides as well as I have a one pager in English and Spanish that goes over this for our families. And then the recording will go out as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now have a question from Karina Cervantes, please. Hi, Karina.
Hi, thank you. This is Karina Sorrenti. So I'm one of those parents at American Canyon Middle School that their student has started his path in the 8th grade with Spanish 1. And it's been really unclear for us parents in the past how are they going to go about getting all of this testing, because it's on your explanation and it's really clear that it says, well, they're going to take some tests on the 11th grade and then they have to take 4 years. Well, so that will bring him back 1 year because he's already taken the first year at the middle school, so he's going into Spanish 2. So that would mean that he will take the test in grade 10, or how is it gonna go? Because I really need to be clear and I really need a specific steps by steps on how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So students who take a language in middle school earn high school credit for that course if they pass with a C or higher. So those credits in that course counts towards their meeting their 4-year requirement. So if they continue for 3 more years in high school, then they meet that requirement. The second language proficiency is the test or the coursework. And so they could meet it by engaging in those 4 years, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, or let's say they do 8th grade, 9th grade, they've met their high school graduation requirement, or 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, they take 3 years, they've met the recommended requirement for UCs and CSUs, they could take that assessment and earn their seal by literacy if they pass with a 3 or higher. Students who are in the advanced placement courses receive this information in the fall from their teacher in their classroom, and their teacher helps support them sign up. Students don't have to take it. And so students will get the information about signing up and how they can sign up. And they typically do that in their class. It's more of just checking to make sure that they actually did say, yes, I want to take that test. Most of our students do, but a lot of the support with signing up happens in the classroom. So just having that quick check-in in the fall of whenever they're taking that AP class, no matter what AP class it is, every AP class, they get the support in the classroom for signing up for that test. If they choose to take the SAT 2, though, that would be something you'd have to sign up on your own. Your counseling or your student services department could help with that, and they could help with signups if you needed that support, or you could reach out to your community parent liaison if you needed that information, and they could connect you with student services. So the SAT 2, we don't support signups on school sites, but everything regarding advanced placement exams are supported in the classroom by that teacher.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina. Yes, next we have Stacy, please. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
It's Stacy Eichner. That kind of explained my question briefly. Teddy's in honors Spanish 2 for Spanish speakers because he went to MBLA. And next year we'll be taking AP Spanish. If he chooses to take that test as a sophomore, is he then done?
So if he meets it at a 3 or higher.
Okay. So So then he wouldn't have to take any more. I mean, he may, I don't know. He's already illiterate, but he wouldn't have to then, as a junior or senior, continue to take Spanish if he's already passed the AP Spanish test.
Not unless he wants to. He would have met his graduation requirement at that point. He would have his 3 years recommendation because the UCs and CSUs required 2, but they recommend 3. So he'd have that 3-year recommendation, and the test would count as his second language proficiency if he earned a 3 or higher.
Okay, even with high school only literally on paper 2 years of it.
So what will show up on the transcript is Spanish for Spanish speakers 1 from middle school. So those credits will actually show up. And so we verify internally based off of that transcript. So it would show 3 years.
Even if
That's
he
like-
didn't have, he didn't have any Spanish in middle school at all.
Oh, no. Thank you for clarifying that. So if he didn't have Spanish in middle school at all, then 2 years of Spanish meets the high school graduation requirement, and passing that exam would still work. Would still work for both graduation and would work for the seal of biliteracy. Let me just clarify the one thing I said. So the recommendation for CSUs and UCs is 3 years. It's not required. That would be the only piece that would change based off of what you just shared. Does that make sense?
Okay. Because the only reason that he was able to go into like honors Spanish 2 for Spanish speakers or whatever is because of his elementary school time. So he already had that language acquisition. He had to get permission granted by the counselor and the teacher, blah, 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 whatever.
So yeah, so UCs and CSUs typically validate the year before. So let's say he passes, and this would apply to anyone. You take the higher level, but you don't take the level before. They'll
Right.
validate the level before if you earn a C or higher.
Okay, perfect.
It
Then-
wouldn't be on his transcript, but they'd validate it when he went to apply to college.
Right. Okay.
For CSUs and UCs, not necessarily private school.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stacy. Brian, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So my question is around why the seal of biliteracy, and as we're having these conversations at home on taking, doing sort of extra work and looking for program completion. What does it do for them? How will they use the seal of biliteracy, and how will that how does that engage with their education after completion?
So the seal, thank you, great question. So the seal of biliteracy is a external validation that they are truly bilingual and biliterate that's recognized widely. So it is something that exists beyond the state of California. So the states that participate in this have their seal of biliteracy. So it's recognized when they go to apply for college. It's recognized, and that could be in-state or out-of-state. It is that external validation that comes beyond their coursework. So I think that's one of the pieces. I think too, it's that piece you can say when applying for a job that I have verified my bilingualism, biliteracy, and earned the seal of biliteracy. So really it's that college and career readiness piece and that external symbol to employers or colleges that they truly have met that.
So it's akin to a certification.
Correct. It's a state level recognition that verifies they are bilingual and biliterate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Monica, I at this moment don't see any additional questions. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question or a comment? It looks like I think that those may have been all the questions we have for today.
Well, thank you everyone for your time and attention. We will send this information out, and I'll toss it to Viviana to close.
Well, thank you again. We want to make sure that you know that there are more parent sessions to come. We have a parent session scheduled for May, 2 sessions scheduled for May, more details to come on Parent Square in relation to the topics. But just as a reminder, these are secondary topics that are also of importance to all of our students. And we thank you for your time. And Monica, thank you, and all the staff that helped make this happen. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.